So I've actually taken a few days off from recording, but I have been wrenching on Project Blueberry off camera. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys are getting more of the day-to-day updates as I go because I post frequent on there. A few more things we did off camera was we installed the AEM wideband with a new sensor, and we made a custom little block off plate for the radio DIN so that way we can have our gauges in it. We're not running a head unit, so we have the Bluetooth module in the car for the front two speakers. It is a two-way unit, and I also have my tuner Jeremy remote in for me to look over the map. He did notice that my map sensor wasn't reading, so he was like, check your wiring. What we found out was the plug that I used for the map sensor was a TPS sensor, so the green and the red was backward. Once we swapped the wiring, the map sensor was reading on the K-Pro, and that kind of helped with the map and the fuel enrichment that it had. The car sounds freaking awesome. It starts up every single time. We drove it without a hiccup, and again, we did a burnout in the car. It sounded freaking awesome, dude. The car is now back on the driveway, and I am ready to tear it apart for the turbo build. So I think what we're going to get into now is pretty much our setup, what we're going to be rocking in Project Blueberry. This box has been sitting on the floor for a very long time. This here is an MXR GT3582R turbo. Let's go ahead and unbox this turbo and show you guys what's inside. Cut away from yourself, not towards yourself. In the packaging, MAXPEEDINGROD does provide the gaskets for the discharge and the inlet flange, as well as the oil feed and oil return. This right here is the MAXPEEDINGROD GT3582R Street Performance Turbo. And the Street Performance Turbo is a little bit different than their Street Basic or Street Standard. And the reason for that is because this one has the billet wheel on it, while the other one has the cast. And this should spin a lot more efficiently. Check it out. Ooh, boy, look at that fanciness inside of that. This thing is also a little more resistant to heat. So that means it probably will work a little more efficiently and not get like overcooked or something like that. And I want to say this turbo does have water lines too, if you guys want to run water lines on your turbo to help it cool down much more efficiently as well too. If you look, we have the feed, the oil, the return, and the I guess the return for the coolant feed as well too. This is a 4-bolt design, 3-inch outlet, and I want to say this is a 82 or 60. What is this? This looks like an 82 back housing, I want to say. It's pretty big. It's pretty big. We're gonna be rocking this turbo. I have friends that actually rock this and have gone 10s in their cars, and I've also seen people. What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I'm kind of curious to see how well it works for Project Blueberry and its K24. Let's show you guys the manifold we're rocking. So this manifold, I bought it off of eBay originally for my KRX, and then I scratched the idea of wanting to turbo that car, and I just wanted to leave it alone to be my all-motor grip monster. And then this manifold was just kind of like sitting around. So when I came across Project Blueberry and wanted to keep it very budgeted, I figured I wanted to use this manifold to kind of fit the criteria. So this is an eBay cast manifold for the K20. It is a rear mount setup, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this manifold is very cheap, right? For one, it's gonna hold up really well, but it's not practical for high horsepower cars. This is something I probably recommend to like 400, and then anything after that, you're probably gonna be boost creeping all sorts of crazy with this 38mm wastegate and just the flow deficiency of these runners. But if you guys not looking for a lot of power, this manifold right here will work perfectly fine. And I think this was like under 100 bucks. It comes with the studs, it comes with all the gaskets, and again, good for sub 400 horsepower cars. Doesn't matter what turbo you put on here, it's gonna spool up really quickly. I opt for something a little bit different. I like sidewinders because I like the turbo to be up front. It looks cool. I mean, who doesn't want to see that there's a big ass turbo strap to the car, right? So this piece right here cost me $110. Now this only applies if you have a welding machine, if you have a friend that has a welding machine, but really not necessary. But I made this because I wanted the turbo sit on the side and look cool. So both these T3 flanges here, these 2.5 schedule 10 304 stainless steel tubing with the flange. It was $110. I did a lot of cutting. I made an entire video on this actually. I'll try to link it in the description below as well too. This placed the turbo to the side, and according to the interweb, people have tested this adapter and making upwards to 600 horsepower. If you guys are looking for something like this with this manifold and still keep it cost efficient, there is a company out there in AZ that makes these and sells them for a good deal. There is a company out there that makes these adapters for an affordable price, which still be cheaper than buying like a full tubular manifold. And it's been proven to make upwards of 600 horsepower without issues. And with this adapter, you can either change your wastegate style or not have one on here at all and retain your 38 mil here down at the bottom. This right here goes onto the manifold, and then it places your turbo on the driver's side. So with that being said, I'm gonna put a link in the description below to something similar to this if you guys are trying to build a budget turbo kit. And you guys already know I will link the MAXPEEDINGROD GT3582R Street Performance Turbo and a discount code with that as well too to save 10% off before you check out. I think I've taught you guys a whole storm already, so let's get Project Blueberry jacked up and take off that stock exhaust manifold. Now, a lot of you guys was curious on the header I was using. This is a TSX K24 header, and I cut off the runners here, all four, and I shortened it down. I don't remember how much, but I do have an entire video on this. And then the downpipe, I use a Block's 2.5 inch flange, and pretty much just use the existing TSX downpipe, just chopped and modified to go to the exhaust system. So this gives it a nice sleek look, especially if you're in California with the stock heat shield. But this right here was configured for the wagon. So now let's go ahead and get this manifold installed. Now the thing about this one is it's a little tricky with these bolts right here, but if you know how to work the fingers, you'll make it work. If you're going to be using a 35 or a 38 millimeter wastegate, your wastegate will obviously go right here underneath the manifold. Because I am going to be switching over to a 44, I need to block this off from the bottom because we're not going to be needing it anymore. You can buy one of these wastegate block off from eBay for very cheap. I just have a bunch of flange lying around, so I just pretty much put a plate on here, welded it shut, and I am going to be using it with a metal gasket. You guys already know torque specification. And we're good. I am going to keep the OE gasket. All right, guys, let's go ahead and grab the turbo. Wow. Gotta figure something out with these guys right here. Okay, so MAXPEEDINGROD turbo is installed, but not fully. Not fully because I didn't realize how big this flange is, and my bolts are just not long enough. So I'm gonna have to go get some more hardware. For right now, 2 is holding it in place, and it looks good. I don't know if I want to paint the housing black and then like maybe sand down the MAXPEEDINGROD logo here, or leave it cast aluminum. I don't know. I think I kind of, I don't know about that either. To be honest with you, I do want to wrinkle black that, but I have to drain my entire cooling system to take that off. And if I do that, probably paint that one as well too. But man, it's crazy to say that Project Blueberry is strapped with a turbo. Yeehaw! It's very important to clock your feed and drain system correctly, and right now we are pointed in all of the wrong direction. All you got to do is loosen up all of the 13 mil down here, and that'll allow you to either turn the compressor housing, the exhaust housing, or the cartridge, which is where the oil flows through. When I designed this manifold, it was on a K20 engine because we were supposed to do this in the KRX. So right now we are hitting the the little tab right there with the 10 mil on the turbo, and we can't seat it all the way. So simple enough, I can just take the turbo off, cut that little section, and move the water pipe in closer to clear the turbo so we can bolt it up. And yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. I shaved off this tab, not all the way, because we still need that threaded portion. I ended up just putting a 10 mil from the bottom instead of the top, so we can have all the clearance on the top for the turbo compressor housing. We have the turbo completely flush to the flange, and it's going to be a lot more flusher once I have the bottom bolts installed. The compressor housing is fitted and cleared of the water housing by just a smidge. I also have the compressor housing clocked in the position that I need it to be in. It does clear the shifter cable and mechanism right there. This is about the area that I want the charge pipe to run through, really close to the motor mount, but not really touching anything. And then it's going to go downward into the intercooler there. I'm going to have to find some time to go to the homie to get some piping so we can do the bottom charge pipe, because I don't really have much left. I'm not doing a charge pipe today. I really wanted to mock up the turbo to kind of see all the pipings I need to buy to make the down pipe for the turbo and for the wastegate, which I need to install. So let's grab that. This right here is a 44 millimeter wastegate. I've ran this style many and plenty of times before, actually. I think this is the same one that I ran on the Flip RX CRX, which was the turbo LSV Tech we did 2 years ago, I think. Damn, it's been 2 years since the Flip RX CRX. Wow. So anyways, 44 millimeter wastegate provided by 102. Link in the description below. Discount code is also provided down below, and we're going to install this right now. Do not forget your firing ring. This goes between the wastegate and the flange. This helps seal the boost. I'm going to put the clamp on beforehand and then go ahead and get this onto the turbo manifold. Putting the bolt from the top in case the nut ever comes loose. The bolt will at least still be in the place. I am going to clock the flange kind of downward a little bit instead of straight towards the firewall, just to kind of help with angle. Both the wastegate and the turbo is going to come off probably a couple more times before we finalize everything, and then when we are ready to secure it all in a place, we'll install all of the fittings and everything as well too. Talk about easy access with the wastegate, huh? Check that out. In case you ever need to swap springs, right up in the front. So the turbo, not much more I can do with it today, because downpipe, V-band, I don't have the fittings and stuff for the feed or the return system. And now with the turbo in place, I kind of know what angles I need to buy. But I am going to move on to something else. I think I want to install the catch can. So the catch can here is provided by MAXPEEDINGROD, and if you guys are interested in this very simple system, link in the description below. Now I was going to run a bigger can where the battery sits, but I didn't want to relocate my battery, so I opt for this one. This little can right here has 2-10 bungs on it, and it is plenty for what we're trying to do with Project Blueberry. We're not trying to make a ton of power, so this can right here should do the job, and this kit comes with literally everything you need. I originally planned to put the can back here, but didn't really calculate with the fuel line and filter. It's actually in the way of where the can would be sitting to bring it lower. So I decided that I'm going to put it somewhere on the passenger frame rail, somewhere like that, nice and tucked down low. So we have the second bracket installed, and the catch can is pretty firm into place, and once we have the lines on it, it should stiffen it up a lot more. So now I got to figure out, where is it do I want my bungs for the valve cover to the catch can. So I have a spare valve cover that I went to go pick up from my storage unit. Big shout out to the homie Bernie. So right here in the back of the valve cover, I sanded down 2 sections for the bung we're going to be adding onto the rear. This one is actually under the baffle already, which is that. And then I cleaned up this section here, which I'm just gonna plate it for this bung, so that way oil doesn't like just come straight out of it. It would have to go up and around and out of here. I just finished the baffle for this bung right here, and all I did was take a flat stock and line it up with the inside baffle, and then I just welded it shut. It's going to make the oil work a little harder to go around this to go into the bung to the catch can, so this should work perfectly fine. Valve cover welded on the opposite end as well too, and this is going to get powder coated. I'm not sure when it's going to get powder coated, but we are going to do a different color wrinkle. I don't know if I've shown you guys this yet, but this is the powder for the new color. Got it from Prismatic Powder, and it's going to be wrinkle as well too. You guys are going to have to stay posted for the color reveal, because obviously we can't get it done tonight. Not sure if I can get it done later this week, but I am most definitely going to get the valve cover powder coated before we take off. So I think right now what we're going to do is take off the Type R valve cover, the red one, slap this one on, and then we can build our lines. These bungs are in line with each other. They're not offsetted or anything. So when I put these 90-degree fittings on, they are going to be overlapping each other. And I'm going to be using the 90 off the valve cover to direct it towards the front of the car. And I'm going to build the rear line first, putting on the second fitting, so that way I kind of know how high this one has to lap on top of the bottom one. I noticed that the catch can has paint on the threads of the bung, and it makes it really hard to thread the AN fittings into it. I'm gonna go ahead and just mark this out. I'm giving it a little extra length so that way I can curve the nylon away from the shock tower. Throw some electrical tape on here so I can make my cut and not have the nylon fray. I'm gonna go ahead and secure this in now for the shots, because this has to come back off anyways, because the valve cover needs to be powder coated. So catch can is going to come off as well too, so I can paint the silver brackets so it's not an eyesore. I'm going to go ahead and just build the second line. Gotta get the measurements for the catch can side. Got my measurements. Let's go ahead and build this second line as well. Second line going back on, just to come back off again, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm doing it for the pictures. You know what? It doesn't look that bad. I really wanted to keep the lines from being too visible on the tower, because I wanted to keep it nice and clear. But the more I looked at my wagon's picture, the more it didn't really bother me because of it being black and not silver. This doesn't bother me being there. I mean, as long as it's functional, it is what it is. So catch can fully installed, fully secured, although everything is going to come back apart because silver bracket's going to get painted, valve cover is going to get powder coated, but nonetheless it's all configured. MAXPEEDINGROD catch can, link in the description below. Be sure to use discount code to save a few bucks. This is great for the deal, and it is going to serve its purpose like it's supposed to. We unboxed the MAXPEEDINGROD Street Performance GT3582R Turbo. This thing is going to make some numbers because I've seen it work before. A lot of the muscle car guys have been running this as well too on YouTube, and they seem to have a lot of great results. It is mated up with a manifold that I built to adapt to the cast eBay manifold down low, and this right here is a very budgeted setup if you have a welding machine or access to a welder. But aside from that, this turbo should fit on that cast manifold and should make easily 350 400 horsepower, no problem. Again, MAXPEEDINGROD GT3582R Street Performance Turbo, link in the description below as well. Stoked to see how well this thing works on the dyno. I ran a lot of different brand GT3582R Turbo, and I want to see how efficient this one's going to be with the billet wheel, but all of that's going to come here real soon. We are on a super time crunch, and next week is literally the last week to button up Project Blueberry. So tuning is going to come up real soon, and I hope you guys stick around for that. So I am going to wrap up the video right here. I hope you guys enjoy the progress update on Project Blueberry, catch can, turbo manifold, turbo. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up, and if you guys want to stick around for all the turbo kit stuff to come, because we got to get on it, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.